Iran poised for major retaliation, U.S. deploys Hurries carrier group. By Tyler Durden. Monday, August 12, 2024, 7:25 a.m. In a significant shift in its recent assessment of Iran's intentions, Israeli intelligence reportedly. Israel says Iran poised for major retaliation, U.S. deploys Hurries carrier group. By Tyler Durden. Monday, August 12, 2024, 7:25 a.m. In a significant shift in its recent assessment of Iran's intentions, Israeli intelligence reportedly now believes that Iran is preparing a major strike on Israel after all and that it will happen in the next few days. This comes after Israel had concluded that international pressure and U.S. saber-rattling had persuaded Iran to leave it to Lebanese militant group Hezbollah to strike Israel for blowing up Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran on July 31. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant shared his country's latest assessment with U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin in a Sunday conversation, Axios reported, telling Austin that Iranian actions signify the country is readying a major strike. Also on Sunday, Gallant told an Israeli Defense Forces unit that Iran and Hezbollah are threatening to harm us in a way they haven't done in the past. Laden with upwards of 154 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles, the USS Georgia has been ordered into CENTCOM's area of operations. Israeli intelligence's seesawing assessment reflects an ongoing debate inside the Iranian government, a source with access to the intelligence told Axios. The Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps IRGC is pushing for a more severe and broader response than Iran's April 13 attack on Israel, but the new Iranian president and his advisors believe a regional escalation now wouldn't serve Iran's interests, the source said. A Pentagon spokesman said Austin assured Gallant that America is committed to take every possible step to defend Israel and noted the strengthening of U.S. military force posture and capabilities throughout the Middle East in light of escalating regional tensions. The strengthening of the U.S. force posture included the deployment of the USS Georgia guided missile submarine to the Central Command Theater. Armed with up to 154 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles, the Kings Bay, Georgia-based vessel recently completed joint training exercises in the Mediterranean with Force Recon Marines and Special Operations Forces, including units from the UK, Norway, and Italy. Austin also ordered the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, already steaming to the conflict zone laden with F-35C and F/A-18 fighters, to accelerate its transit, the Pentagon said. Defense Secretary Austin directed the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group to accelerate its transit to the Middle East Tinderbox, MCS-3 Stephen Doyle, U.S. Navy via UPI. Last week, CENTCOM confirmed that an unspecified number of F-22 Raptor stealth fighter jets had arrived somewhere in its area of responsibility to mitigate the possibility of regional escalation by Iran or its proxies. Meanwhile, Russia has been delivering air defense equipment to Iran, including radars and possibly S-400 anti-aircraft missile components. See how all this works? Israel provokes Iran with a sensational violation of its sovereignty, and then the US government spends untold billions of dollars to protect Israel from the ensuing response while putting in harm's way service members who've been led to believe it's a way of serving their country. If you sense a pattern, it's because the same scenario unfolded a few months ago, when Israel bombed an Iranian diplomatic facility in Syria. When Iran struck back, US forces intervened to destroy the incoming projectiles. Without breaking down costs by country, analysts estimated Iran's April strike cost only $80 to $100 million, while the defense mounted by the US, Israel and its allies cost around $1 billion. Talk about asymmetrical warfare. 122,7821,970. More geopolitical stories on Zero Hedge. Iron Dome failure? Overnight Hezbollah missile salvo on northern Israel leads to speculation. U.S. gymnast Jordan Chiles must return bronze medal, Olympic Committee says. Russia begins heavy retaliation on Hezbollah has fired dozens of rockets from Lebanon into northern Israel, calling it retaliation for Israeli attacks last week. Israel's military says its Iron Dome defense system intercepted some, but not all, of the projectiles. In the overnight and early morning hours, Hezbollah pounded northern Israel and the western Galilee with at least 30 rockets. While Israel's military says intercepted some of the rockets, it is clear from widely circulating videos, though unverified, that many of them got through Israel's sophisticated anti-air systems. Iron Dome failure. pic.twitter.com/6tgd8cftw5. Suleiman Ahmed, at Sheikh Suleiman. A number of regional analysts are remarking on the utter failure of Israel's Iron Dome air defense system during the salvo. However, Inet says many rockets struck open fields and uninhabited areas, causing fires. Lebanese Hezbollah said the target was an IDF military installation near Kibbutz Ga'atan. The Israeli side reported no casualties in the wake of the overnight assault. A regional source indicates that one of Israel's interceptors hit the hydrotherapy center located in the Mount Hermon region, damaging a building. The Iran-backed Lebanese paramilitary group has been vowing revenge for the assassination strike by Israel of senior Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr in Beirut on July 30. The next day, an Israeli operation in Tehran killed Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. Israel says it is busy strengthening defenses ahead of the still anticipated Iranian response, which is expected to include stepped-up Hezbollah action. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant told a meeting of defense leader, "We are in the days of vigilance and readiness. The threats from Tehran and Beirut may materialize, and it is important to explain to everyone that readiness, preparedness, and vigilance are not synonyms for fear and panic." As for the claims of the Iron Dome utterly failing in the latest attack, others pointed to the following video, which like the above remains unverified. The Iron Dome at work last night, shooting down Hezbollah rockets over northern Israel. pic.twitter.com/2jdyjxsncp. Visegrad 24, @Visegrad 24. Israeli officials are meanwhile monitoring Lebanese media reports which say Hezbollah has entirely evacuated its Beirut headquarters in anticipation of a significant flare-up. Some Hezbollah-aligned Lebanese politicians have also issued new threats. Nabih Berri, the Speaker of the Parliament of Lebanon and a staunch Hezbollah ally, says of a tensely anticipated joint Iranian and Hezbollah attack on Israel that revenge is a dish best served cold. He warns that the response is inevitable after the recent killings of top Hezbollah military commander Fuad Shukr in an Israeli airstrike in Beirut and Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. Below, Iron Dome missiles have reportedly landed on Israeli residences over the last several days. Last week a 27-year-old man was critically injured by a malfunctioning Iron Dome interceptor missile when it fell on a northern highway he was traversing. The Pentagon has said it is speeding up its naval assets heading to regional waters, including the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and the deployment of the USS Georgia guided missile submarine, in anticipation for a potential Iranian attack on Israel. Putin says there will be no peace talks with Ukraine as 180,000 citizens evacuated amid invasion. By Tyler Durden. Monday, August 12, 2024, 1:40 p.m. Ukraine's brazen and high-risk cross-border ground incursion into Russia's Kursk region is nearly 1 week in, with Russian forces still fighting off the invaders, and Kiev confirming in a fresh statement that the offensive operation is continuing. Russian emergency authorities are evacuated an astounding 180,000 citizens from border regions where fighting has encroached. An official briefing delivered to President Putin on the situation on Monday has revealed that the shock Ukraine offensive is bigger and more expansive and devastating than previously believed. Ukraine's military has taken control of 28 towns and villages in Russia's Kursk border region, prompting a sixth of its population to flee the incursion, the acting regional governor told President Vladimir Putin, Bloomberg writes of official statements. But it remains that along the front lines inside eastern Ukraine, Russian forces are still advancing, with RIA stating Russia takes control of the settlement of Lysychy in Ukraine. Ukraine is now claiming that its forces hold 1,000 square kilometers of Russian territory, a Monday statement from its defense ministry said. According to more from Bloomberg, Russian officials have admitted that a sizable chunk of Russian territory is in a state of emergency. More than 120,000 people have left their homes and about 60,000 more are waiting to be evacuated, Alexei Smirnov told Putin and Russia's top security officials during a televised meeting on Monday. Ukrainian forces have penetrated at least 12 kilometers, 7.5 miles, into Russia and control a border area at least 40 kilometers wide, though there's no clear understanding of where their troops are, he said. President Putin has issued his first detailed public statements since the incursion began. One thing he stressed in the Monday remarks is that now there will be no peace talks or settlement with Kiev. It is now clear why the Kiev regime refused our proposals to return to the plan for peaceful settlement, Putin said. The enemy, with the help of its Western masters, it is doing their bidding, and the West is waging war against us using Ukrainians, seeks to improve its negotiating position in the future. But what kind of negotiations can we even talk about with people who indiscriminately strike civilians, civilian infrastructure, or try to create threats to nuclear power facilities, the Russian leader added. What can we even talk about with them? This latter part was in reference to the somewhat mysterious drama happening Sunday at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, where a fire appeared to break out, which was then used by President Zelensky to hype the threat of looming nuclear disaster. But the UN's IAEA has since said the incident, which may have simply involved tires being set alight at the complex, has had no impact on nuclear safety. Just in, Russia-Ukraine. Russian President Putin says there will be no more peace talks with Ukraine. What is there to even talk about with those who attack civilians and nuclear facilities, pic.twitter.com/UUGF3ZQ09B. Brix News, at BRICsinfo, August 12, 2024. As for the latest developments on Russia's efforts to push back the southern invasion, the Kremlin has issued the following figures. Hospitals have admitted 69 people that were injured in Ukrainian shelling of the Kursk region. 17 are in serious condition. Ukraine has lost up to 1,350 troops. Ukraine has lost 29 tanks and 23 armored personnel carriers since the start. And below are some of the last developments in the last hours via Al Jazeera. New evacuation orders have been issued in Russia's Belgorod and Kursk regions amid Ukraine's cross-border incursion. Ukraine's State Security Service, SBU, says that Russia is trying to falsely accuse Kiev's military of war crimes. Kursk's governor, Alexei Smirnov, says the total civilian death toll from Ukraine's incursion into Russia's Kursk region has reached 12. Russian President Vladimir Putin says that Ukraine is trying to undermine Russian stability with its incursion into the south of the country, but it will not succeed. Russia says it has repelled 7 Ukrainian attacks in Kursk launched by Ukraine's 80th and 82nd Airborne Assault Brigades in the past 24 hours. A Ukrainian deputy energy minister accused of taking a bribe worth $500,000 has been arrested along with 3 alleged accomplices, according to the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU. Amid ongoing speculation as to what Zelensky ultimately hopes to get out of this Kursk operation, Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov has been in phone calls with Western counterparts, urging NATO countries to lift their prior bans on Western weapons being used to attack inside Russia. The internationalization of this proxy war is growing. Escalation without diplomacy, NATO is backing deep strikes into Russia and the invasion of Russia, Kursk. It is not possible to criticize Zelensky even as he attacks the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plants and use openly Nazi brigades to target civilians. On the Russian side, pic.twitter.com/pkxsbcjwti. Glenn Deason, at Glenn_Deason, August 12, 2024. Umerov said on X that he urged the leadership of France to lift the ban on hitting military targets in the enemy's territory. Russian leadership is viewing with increased dismay surprising scenes like the following. Ukrainian soldiers from the 225th Separate Assault Battalion ripping down the Russian tricolor on the administrative building in Duryino, Kursk region. pic.twitter.com/dsbb0zgr64. Christopher Miller, at ChristopherJM, August 12, 2024. In May, the French presidency's office stipulated that Western weapons could be used only on locations from which the missiles are fired and not other civilian or military targets. But now it has become clear that Ukraine hopes to strike deeper into Russia with NATO-supplied long-range missiles. This would mark an ultra-dangerous turning point in the war, which the Kremlin might consider an existential threat to the nation, triggering deployment of strategic forces. Already Western-supplied armored vehicles have been spotted among Ukraine's invasion force. 53,450,735. More geopolitical stories on Zero Hedge. Israel says Iran poised for major retaliation, US deploys